Alright, so today's episode, we're going to work on this. This is my wife's 2002 SL1, and as of last year when I finished building her 96 SC2 for her, this is now just her winter car. It was her daily driver since like 2014. She's put 100,000 kilometers on this unit, and it's done nothing but treat her really good. So, if it's going to be a winter car, I want to make sure that it presents zero problems in the winter, because nothing sucks more than having a car not be a car when it's minus 40 outside and you need to go somewhere. So we're going to try to eliminate that. Now, this thing did poke up a bunch of issues near the end of last season. So the power steering pump is leaking like a sieve. It's yeah, it pisses it out as fast as you can put it in almost. So I got a new one of those. We'll put that on. The intake manifold gasket is leaking, so we're going to address that. As you can hear some dribbling, I've already drained the coolant and the oil because I went shopping for just an intake gasket and I couldn't find one. The only way I could get it was to get the whole upper head gasket kit. So I thought, hey, while I'm in there, why don't I just do a full engine refresh, and then this thing should be good to go for many more years. And so that's what I decided to do. So it turned into a well, you're in there, but it's not really that bad. A lot of the parts on the outside are new. They've been replaced recently. So it's not like I got to replace a whole bunch of stuff to rebuild an engine in this thing. So all I'm really going to do is I'm going to tear it all down, basically do a head job. I'll pull the oil pan and I'm going to pop the pistons out. And I figured, well, I'm in there, I may as well give it a quick hone and re-ring the pistons. And on top of that, I'm going to drill some oil relief holes in the piston ring groove so that in 200,000 more kilometers, this thing won't start burning oil again, right? It should stay pretty good. And also, with its age, a lot of the seals are leaking. This thing has approximately 230,000 K on it right now. And in my experience with 3 separate SOHC cars, I'm assuming this would be the same for the DOHC because the head gasket's the same, is I've seen 2 of them blow head gaskets at 260 and I burnt a valve at 260. So the way I see it, I'm just going into this motor 30,000 K sooner than I'm gonna have to, right? That's the way I'm looking at it, because I have yet to see one of these cars where I haven't had to go right into a motor all the way down to the pistons and the crank at around 260,000 K kilometers, or 150,000 miles from factory. But once you drill the holes in the pistons, you're good for forever, really, until you blow a gasket, depending on how you treat your motor, right? It's not a race car. So yeah, I got the coolant draining, and we'll get started on that. Alright, so a brief recap of what you just saw in the speed run. Basically got rid of all the easy stuff that's right in front of you. Exhaust manifold, tensioner, crank pulley, all that stuff. So all that's really left is the intake manifold, the timing cover, and the valve cover, and then that head can come off. I've got the oil pan off already, so undo the rod bolts, and yeah, out come the pistons. So we're not that far off yet. I did want to mention there's two ways, because the hardest, really in my opinion, the hardest thing to do with this job is the intake manifold. The intake manifold, there's not a lot of room back here. Getting at the nuts is kind of hard. With that out of the way, you can get your arm underneath and get your bottom ones pretty much to there, and you can come from this side and get the other ones from here. However, there's two schools of thought on how to do this, and I've done it both ways, and I'm going to do it the easier way in my opinion. Now, in one way, you can take all the nuts and all the studs out, pop the head, leave this where it is, and it just slides right up because there's no studs in the way, because you won't really have enough room to move this to get the studs off with the dowel pins that are in the block. However, I've discovered that if you loosen this bolt right here from this brace, it'll allow the intake manifold to swivel up like this. So when you pop the head, you just kind of tilt everything up to about a 45 and then slide the head right out, and same thing on the way in. I did it earlier this year and I was like, wow, that is slick as hell. So that's the way I'll be doing that. But yeah, there's not much else going on here. Let's get into it. It was starting. There's the beginning of a blown head gasket. I was right, there's only about 30 and most of them are clogged off. Alright, so we got the head off, everything's ready to go. All we gotta do is pop out those 4 pistons, and they're about as carboned up as I figured they would be, or should be, for the mileage on the vehicle. The bores are about as nice as I was expecting, which is pretty nice. These motors don't really, the bores don't get too badly damaged. So yeah, we'll pop those out. And then I was noticing, this is the second 3rd gen SOHC I've taken apart, where they have flat top twin cam pistons. And you can see the valve reliefs right there for the dual valve on the intake side of the twin cam. So, oh no, did Saturn start cheaping out in the last generation and just decided to chuck the same pistons into every motor? Because this is the second one I pulled apart where I've kind of been like, wait, why is there flat top twin cam pistons in an SOHC? But I guess that kind of lets you know that if you want, you can probably just head swap an SOHC, leave the dished pistons in, and run a DOHC. It'll just might be a couple points lower on compression. Well, now that we got the pistons all pulled out, next off is we'll go in the house, we'll clean them up, drill out those rings, that oil ring groove so that we have some oil relief, and put some new rings on it. Then we'll come out here and we'll clean the block, hone the block, get everything all ready for reassembly. Well, I think I found my vacuum leak. There's some broken gasket. There's some folded gasket. You know, so that's not, and it's ripped from the stud there, so it was leaking there, it was leaking there, and I think I was about to have a coolant leak. Because there's the sealing ring that's melded into the gasket, and that is, oh, that's brittle. Oh wow, look at that thing shatter. I've never seen a gasket do that before. Like it's just crumbling in my hands. So, well, I think I've solved the wife's vacuum leak problem. It's weird though, it wouldn't do it all the time. It would most notably do it when you'd come off the highway after traveling for, you know, an hour or two down the highway, and it would, you'd pull it up to park, and it would it'd want to idle at like 2,500 RPM and it would not come down. And that's probably, that might have something to do with it. Okay, so we're in the house and I'm going to remove the oil pump from the timing cover that came off that car, and I'm going to inspect it. I've got another one, but I'm going to use whichever one looks better. So I'm going to pull this apart and make a judgment call from there. So we'll pull this cover off and get to an oil pump. There we go. Oh, looks pretty good. So that's the oil pump. So it's a centrifugal cavity pump. So as this spins on your crankshaft and this spins as the other one does, it creates a progressive cavity. And as it squishes everything like that, it forces. Right? This is actually how downhole oil pumps work, only on more of a tall cylindrical level. So, right, this would stay stationary with the crankshaft and the whole thing would spin. Also, if you're ever changing one, always remember that this chamfer goes down. If you put it in the other way, I don't know what will happen, but I don't think it'll be good. So, give this a quick wipe. Oh yeah, this one looks, oh, this looks minty. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna use this one. It looks better than my other one. I'll just take the rotor and stator apart. The outer is the stator, the inner is the rotor. Alright, so we'll clean this up and we'll lubricate it and we'll put it into the other timing cover that I've already prepped. And just like that, the one that I've cleaned. Yeah, I like to use Lucas's assembly lube. It's just something I've always done. A buddy of mine's a mechanic and he's always done it as well. Always had good luck with it. Alright, so I got all the hardware back into the timing cover. I just put all the bolts back where they go so I don't lose them. It's easier than, it's faster than putting things in bags. No it's not, but I prefer doing it. I don't want to waste a bunch of bags. So there we go. That's all reassembled and ready to go. So on to the next piece. Alright, so I'm going to pull all of the bolts out of the head and run them over as I pull them out so I know where they go on the other one. I didn't wind those in all the way because I'm probably going to take them off again just to put the manifold on, where you can just slide it down and then put the studs in through it. So that's probably how I'm going to put it back together. So I left those, they're just in short so that I don't run into room issues. At least I shouldn't. Alright, so now we're ready to take the rings off the pistons and clean those up. So that'll be the next process. I'll just do all this tedious stuff off camera. I mean, it's just cleaning. If you want to watch videos about that, I'm sure guys have done specific videos on cleaning things. I'm not going to be one of those channels. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. This is just stuff I'd be doing anyway, so I figured I'd just film it. Plus I can go back and look at it for reference myself, so if I ever forget what I did. Alright, so I'm going to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. So, factory, there's an oil relief and there's an oil relief. And you can see how caked up in the bottom there that this stuff can get. Now there's no relief between there on this side and there on the other side. So, I'm going to pop a couple of holes in the bottom of this ring groove. Now I don't know why they didn't do this from factory. A lot of pistons have oil relief holes in the bottom of the oil ring groove. I don't know why it was an oversight, or I don't know, maybe they figured they didn't need them. But I know if you buy aftermarket pistons, a lot of them have it. And so we're going to install some in here, and problem solved. Alright, so to show you guys where I was marking my holes. So I'm going to drill 3 oil relief holes in the bottom of this oil ring groove. And got the wife's sewing tape here. You go there, and you go to the other side, From there to there is exactly 4 inches. So we'll put a hole there, put a hole there, we'll put a hole there. And it's just that easy. And then we'll just put in the drill press, pop holes through there. Make sure we deburr them really good, put rings in them, finish cleaning them up, and we'll put them back in the car. There we go. Now, the oil can drain from the oil ring into the inside of the piston. Now we can clean these for the final time, now that we've got them all full of metal chips, and really clean out the wrist pin area. I didn't take them off the rods because I didn't want to mess with the clips, because me and those clips don't get along. Now we're gonna clean and deburr, and then everything here is good. Then next step is out to the car to hone the cylinders, clean the mating surfaces, the intake manifold, and then we can throw it back together. Alright, so now it's time to get some piston rings, or the new rings, on the pistons. So I've already done the other 3, but I figured I'd just do one on camera, just because. In case you've never seen it done, or I don't know, in case you want to see it. Okay, now with the compression ring, there's a little dot right there. The dot goes up. I like to stagger my ring gaps. Okay, so the next step now is we go outside and we hone the engine block. So we'll see you outside. Alright, so we're ready to hone some cylinders here, and I got it all bagged off because it sprays oil everywhere. It makes a huge mess. So, and I got the crank all protected up with some paper towel and stuff. And so we'll give these a hone, and then we'll spend hours and hours and hours cleaning it. But yeah, let's get her going. Alright, I got everything all cleaned, all honed. They're looking good. There's a little bit of a scoring in the back, but it's not too bad, and you kind of can't feel it, it's just there. So, but all the rest of it's pretty good. Crankshaft is clean, bottom is clean, and I'll probably spray it a couple times more before I get going on it. But so that'll wrap it up for this one. In the next one, we will rebuild the cylinder head, and then in the episode after that, we'll reassemble this bad boy and we'll get her running again. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next one.